That pattern of using what, how, why, etc. is referenced in athletics as the coaching loop, or it's a segment of the coaching loop, and it's the one that makes the most sense for teaching choreographed things like kata. Couple of insider tips here. For one, you heard us mention the phrase popular pitfall. That's something we suggest you do. How many times have you taught some basic thing or a whole kata, and everybody does the same mistake? Over and over, no matter how many times you teach it to do different groups, you see, oh my gosh, they're doing that thing again. We know, hey, that happens all the time. It's kind of a popular pitfall. Label it, call it out, use different words if you want. But if you tell people, hey, here, this next thing is something people get wrong a lot, they fix it. It's like a preventative fix. Because nobody wants to do something that everybody else gets wrong. They think, oh, well, I'm not going to fall into that. I'm not going to get it wrong. Everybody else does. I'll get it right. And they do. It has fixed so many problems. Just call it out in advance. You know what the problem is. Help them fix it early.
That's right.
Here. Insider tip number 2. You also heard us use the phrase fundamental feature when we were talking in this case about something that defines what the kata koku does. Well, once again, if you know, oh, I want them to get this important thing, tell them that's an important thing. We like the phrase fundamental feature. It's usually something that defines that particular kata or kihon or what have you. But if you call it out, they know to pay attention to it. They know it's important to you. They want to do what you think is important. That's why they signed up for your class. So if you find something that fits there, call it out, label it. Insider tip number 3. Now, this isn't about the teaching model itself. It's about our general method of approaching language. If you go back and listen to the way we were making those suggestions, they were almost always externally focused. When we said to avoid the kick, we said nothing about what angle to step at or what the protractor angles of your joints should be functioning. It was all about avoiding that thing out there or striking that thing over here. They're externally focused. There's a whole lesson about this in our programs. If you haven't seen it yet, please do. It's maybe the easiest thing to fix to make your students better, but it deserves its own lesson. So get there when you can.
You brought up popular pitfalls, right? So let's just talk about some super common popular pitfalls in Bujinkan when we're first learning kata, in pre-learning kata, when we're learning basic kamae and that sort of a thing, right? So one thing that oftentimes happens with beginners is you're having them step back at an angle.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So they're trying to avoid the punch. One common thing that I've seen is someone literally stepping straight back on the balls of their toes.
Yes.
Right. Super normal thing. Someone's just trying to reel back from someone throwing a punch at their face, right? Natural reaction.
Yeah.
But to me, with the system that we're teaching, that would be a popular pitfall.
That's perfect. Now, similarly, you'll see, they just scoot off at an angle or lean over. It does avoid the punch.
Yep.
But boy, we all know that's not a good angle to be at.
Yeah.
Call it out. Let them know, oh, that's a really popular pitfall while you're teaching it, and they'll avoid it. In fact, think about it. What are some of the ones that you have seen students do over and over again? I remember back long ago, I was teaching that fundamental angle, and whatever I was saying was clearly wrong because a good portion of folks would use their front foot to cross step backwards.
Right.
I don't know what thing I was saying. No one ever showed them that. None of us would have suggested that, but more than a couple of people did it. So I knew, man, this is something I'm saying wrong. Because I'm not demonstrating that. I'm not saying to do that. I started mentioning, one thing a lot of people do wrong here was this. I didn't have cool phrases like popular pitfall at the time. But I would say, oh, this is something that I've seen people do. It's not a good idea. And as people stop doing it. So it's just make the magic of the language patterns work for you.
Another thing with popular pitfalls is sometimes they're just common habits that everybody has, right? People are attracted to do a particular set of movements based on what they've seen in other martial arts, what they've seen in movies, what they used to do, in the playground, with their friends. We just have a natural way that our body seems to be attracted into like these valleys, where we just naturally sort of slide down them.
No matter what I see,
no matter, we just kind of slide in, and it's hard to climb out of them. So as an instructor, you think that you're trying to give them some efficient movement patterns when they actually just have a natural way that they're trying to move. And so they're actually trying to follow your instructions,
Yeah.
but their body is naturally attracted to doing some other thing. And so by pointing out the popular pitfalls in advance, some students may be able to more quickly start to follow what you're trying to do.
It works. Get on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like pointing out the fundamental features. Go through the kata you're going to teach tomorrow or the next day, whenever it is, and figure out what is it that really defines this. Is it the angle of my body? Is it the weight that I put on one side of their body? Is it whatever it is for that kata? There's obviously a lot of them. I'll look at the name of it. See, does that point me toward a particular thing I'm supposed to be focusing on? And then call that out as a fundamental feature of that movement, of that kata, and give them the chance to sort of aim their attention and their intentions at getting that right.
Dovetailing off of popular pitfalls, one of the things that some people have a tendency to do, you might see something similar, would be to rise up their energy, right, and to straighten their legs, maybe trying to backpedal away in the particular movement that you happen to be doing that day. A fundamental feature might be to get your hips nice and low, right, to keep your back in a particular posture, right, maybe to keep your hands up, and a fundamental feature of that might be to protect against further strikes. There could be some fundamental features that automatically address some of the popular pitfalls just by pointing out some of the positives that people need to focus on. They may automatically erase some of the what you might consider negatives or strange attractors that they're doing.
It is true that when we focus on a goal, it's different from focusing on getting away from a problem.
That's right.
Boy, that's some deep language patterns getting into, or life lessons. But I think that's a great. They won't always pair up. Sometimes the fundamental feature for a kata isn't the thing that people get wrong and turns into a popular pitfall. But boy, when it is, that's easy.
That's right.
Just fix them.